Hey everybody, it's Chris. Tonight we're looking at the Latitude64 Sapphire, the new long-range driver addition to their easy-to-throw lineup, which also includes the ruby, the pearl, the diamond, and the jade. Now if you haven't been to the Latitude64 fan page on Facebook or the Latitude64 website, I highly recommend looking up the write-up from Tomas talking about the creation of the Sapphire and a little bit about the history of the easy-to-throw lineup. There's a lot of really cool historical information in there, so I'm not going to do justice to any of that, but the one part I will talk about is how the diamond was really the model for the Sapphire. The idea was to give this feel and this flight with a wider wing and more distance. And I think there was some success there. If you hold these discs back to back, not literally back to back, but if you hold the diamond then you hold the Sapphire, you can tell how they were meant to be a family of discs. So let's talk a little bit about the review. Now I'm going to tell you that I learned some stuff about myself in this review. Mainly, I'm rusty and my form is bad. When I started testing, these discs seemed super understable. And that kind of made sense because the fade is, or the turn is a -2 and the fade is a 1.5, so I was thinking, okay, it's just the disc. But then I saw Dixon Jower's post that he'd thrown his 482 feet. So I reached out to him and I said, how did you do that? What was the flight? Mine seemed super flippy. And he said his didn't seem flippy at all. They seemed stable. And I thought, okay, something's going on. So I actually took the unusual step for me in reviews of taking out my second version, thinking maybe I'd just gotten one that was flippy, that was an aberration. But no, they flew similar, and that's when I found out about my form, because I went back and I thought, okay, I need to review the video, and I could see that on my release, I was planing down, which is forcing the disc over. That's because I've been throwing a lot of overstable stuff. I've been putting intentional anti-flex to get more distance out of overstable stuff. Now with easy to throw 157 gram discs that are already slightly understable anyway, that's not a good deal. You're just going to get understable flights. I have included those here because I think it's a good teaching moment, good learning lesson, a lesson learning video. You can see how my bad form affected the flights, and in fact it goes all the way through the video because I'm fighting it. But also included in the video are when I power this disc down and when I get a clean release. Now I think when you see me throw these discs at 60%, more like a putter, just really controlled, and I'm still getting over 300 feet with it, I think that's an encouraging sign from this disc. I think that's where slower arm speeds and beginning players can look at this disc and say, oh, okay, that's something I can look at and relate to. That disc is one that's going to fly for me. And that's why I have no hesitation recommending this disc, especially for new players or slower arm speeds, because I've seen when I power down what it can do. It's got really good glide, it's got a little bit of turn to it, but it really just wants to push forward. There's a lot of distance potential in this disc. Obviously, Dixon threw at 482. Now, I never did. Even on my clean throws, I think I might have gotten close to 400, but I think it was probably closer to 380, honestly. And I had one really bad throw that I think did break 400, but it's bad. And you'll get to see that as well. But all that to say, I think this disc is going to be a great addition to the easy-to-throw lineup. The idea of getting more distance into the lineup, I think, was a success. This is a disc that new players should be able to access even as they're being introduced to the game, and if they're just learning and they've started to conquer the diamond, this is a good step up. Higher or bigger arms, I think this is a disc you can throw. You just got to throw it clean. Don't do what I'm doing. That control, clean throws and control, I think are really rewarded with this disc. So, if you have questions or comments, please put them below. You get to see my flaws in this video. I'm going to put them right out there for you to pick apart if you want. But I think that's okay. I think that's an important part of discussion. Put those questions and comments below so we can talk about it. Otherwise, enjoy the video and I'll do some commentary as it's going. Before we get into the most of the footage, here is what I think this disc is capable of. Fairly clean release, enough height to work. Disc is going to kick out to the right before the little bit of stability does kick in and bring it back to center. This was one of the longest throws I had with the disc. Alright, so here's my first couple throws with the disc. This first one, you can see the shoulders plane over. Disc just gets turned hard, even with the headwind. That was just my fault. Second throw is a little bit of adjustment, a little more height, smoother throw. Wind still carries it over, but you can see a much better throw overall. Day 2, I wanted to do a progression, so here's a really low power shot. This is almost just like an approach throw. You can see the disc holds the line pretty nicely and actually ends up fading. Second throw, powered up. This is maybe just over 60%, maybe closer to 70. You're going to see some natural turn, but again, the fade is there because there's not a lot of speed on the disc. Now here we go, there's a little more snap. This one covers over 350 feet anyway. And here's that flight, kicks out to the right, back to center. And then I tried to go power, and I just turned this one pretty hard. This was a mistake. It went about 380, but it's going to end up in that creek over on the right. Day 3, taking them out to the woods a little bit. You can see this is supposed to turn a lot more right, but I didn't get enough power on it. Just holds that straight line, fades a little at the end. Hole 2, this one's supposed to turn a little more than I actually got it here. This is a low power shot with just some natural angle control. It doesn't quite make it. Kicks out into the fairway, but wasn't enough power. Here's the adjustment, a little bit higher, a little more anti-release. This one fades right by the pin, about 30 feet long. Do a little bit of standstill here. You can see I released the diamond late, but watching the flight you can see it turns over before fading out a little bit at the end. Now here are a couple Sapphire throws. This first one is high, so obviously it's going to stall out a little bit, hard fade. But the second one is really neat because it's, again, not full power for me, but it is a pretty decent standstill snap. And you can see it just holds that hyzer line that it was released on the entire way. Now here's some left-right comparison, diamond on the left, Sapphire on the right. This is again a low power shot. This is like you're approaching the pin from maybe 200 feet type throw. You can see the Sapphire's stability is going to kick in a little bit faster because of the extra speed on the disc. And then let's power them up. This is maybe 80+%. Again, the diamond's going to turn, and it's just going to hold that turn, whereas the Sapphire you can see starts to turn, but the stability does kick in at the end, and this disc actually covers quite a bit of distance before the fade brings it down to the ground. As promised, here's my really long off-target throw. This was supposed to go straight. Obviously, I turned it a little bit too much, overpowered it, but because of how much height was on, this disc actually was allowed to cover a lot of ground, even if it was in the wrong direction. So 4 more videos. Here I am just snapping it way too hard. Turns the disc over. It covers okay distance, but way off target. Second throw, I powered it down. This is closer to 75%. And this is where I thought the disc shined for me, is when I really slowed down, just tried to focus on smooth. It still covers good distance, not huge distance, but decent distance. Here's a turnover, just again too hard. Angle of the disc isn't going to allow it to come back. And then here's where I figured it out. This is the same video as the beginning, but this is the one throw where everything seemed to click. I got decent snap, I got decent power, release was good, and it allows the disc to get a full flight, flexing out to the right before coming back to center. This is what I think the disc could do. Here's one of my local guys, Mike, coming out to test. You can see his first throw, just low power, wanted to see how it would fly, and just a nice easy toss. A little bit of hyzer finish at the end. Second throw, he puts more power on it, but it also went a little nose up, and you're going to see that stall fade at the end. And the third throw, this is the one I think he was kind of excited about because he flexes it. He gets a nice, decent flight before fading out at the end. This gave him 230 to 250. So that's my look at the Sapphire, Latitude64's newest easy-to-throw disc. I do believe this disc is going to be an excellent addition to bags for players, especially those with low arm speed that just need a little more distance than they're currently getting with their Diamond or Jade. If you like this review or found it informative, please feel free to like it, share it, or even subscribe to the channel. And as always, thanks for watching.